And we're live.
Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen out there. Thank you once again for tuning in with us for another partnership of Business Inside the Game in partnership with the MBPA, Each One Teach One, equal access to healthcare, education, and wellness. I am excited about this one because, like I say, for Big is always taught to be the business inside the game. And we have such great panelists here. And we want to dive into this subject. We want to dive into, access and, equality and pretty much the what ifs, right? So, opinions, facts, all that matters is conversation with us as a community with Big. I want to start by introducing our panelists. Our first panelist, he really needs no introduction, but I will introduce him. 6'6" forward out of Chester, PA, the 23rd overall pick in the first round of the 2015 NBA draft by Portland, then had his rights traded to Brooklyn this year in Toronto. He averaged in 2017, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a do-it-all, offensive machine, defensive stopper, but most importantly, off the court, he partnered with Chap, calm, humble, and patient, to bring public charter schools to his hometown in Chester, PA. The school is for 5th and 8th graders, and the focus is on educating the youth so our communities can become better. Ladies and gentlemen, my bro, Rondé Hollis Jefferson.
What's up? What's up? Thank you. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yes, sir. And our next panelist, an executive director of the American Public Health Association, the nation's oldest and largest organization of public health professionals. Formerly, he was the Secretary of Health for the state of Maryland. He also serves on the National Infrastructure Advisory Council, a council that advises the president on how to best ensure the security of the nation's critical infrastructures. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Dr. George Benjamin. Thank you, Doc. Panelist 3, the founder and CEO of UNES, the first mobile app that's become the easiest way ever to create and manage a tax-free college savings account. This young lady has been featured in Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, New York Times, Forbes, Business Insider, recognized as 40 under 40 by the Investment News in 2020. I am happy to say I'm an investor in her business, and we are becoming great friends and love what she's created. Ladies and gentlemen, Ksenia Udina.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
All right, so we're gonna kick it off right now with our first topic is social detriments to health, right? And the primary drivers of health, inequality, poverty, structural racism, discrimination. We know that there are huge gaps in our community, right? Of having equal access to healthcare based on these disparities. Dr. Benjamin, I want to start with you. Can you talk about, I would say not so much the history, but the story as it pertains to, access to public health for people in lower income communities, especially people of brown and Black color?
Well, the after the Civil War in 1865, they created something called the Freedmen's Bureau. And the Freedmen's Bureau was put together by President Lincoln as an attempt to try to give support to the newly freed slaves in our country. It provided, helping them with land and legal support and healthcare, by the way. And of course, as you could imagine, they didn't get a lot of support in the Congress and others. And it did some decent things, but it didn't do what it needed to do. But it was one of the earliest recognitions that societal things make a big difference in your health. 80% of what makes you healthy occurs outside the doctor's office. Access to safe and affordable foods, clean water, safe air to breathe, et cetera. So, it's in our communities, they've been designed in many ways purposely, redlining to keep us in our place, in our own hood, and then they disinvest in it to do things that, undervalue our homes, right? Property taxes pay based on your home. And of course, most schools are paid for through property taxes. So if you disinvest in the property, you then don't have the money to invest in the schools. What kind of education do you get? So, I'm really applauding Rondé for having a charter school, because that's what we need to do. We gotta focus on our own communities and in education, and these social determinants make a big difference.
Yeah, and Rondé, I wanted you to pick up on that. We like to say we products of our environment, right? And, kind of making it to the NBA, and, coming back and being a founder of a school. Can you just elaborate on, how social economically challenged we are, as, the young Rondé growing up in Chester, you know what I mean? And like what you're seeing and what you are investing in now to create change.
I would definitely start by saying, just thinking about education growing up in our environment, and then going into the real world and seeing how education is taught in places where they're well funded or they can flourish. It kind of hits you differently, especially when you're older, and you can see the different types of education and how ready they are for the real world. So being able to step out and see that, it kind of hit home for me, making it like where I'm in position where I can make those changes and talk to the people I need to talk to, because a lot of the focus that I grew up with and that you grew up with, so on and so forth, it needs to, like, we kind of think of it in a traditional way, but a lot of our kids, they need to be taught in a different, unique way. And that's where it comes in, where we have to think outside the box for our culture, for our people. And that's something where my charter school was focused on. A lot of people don't talk about mental health. You could be in a neighborhood where your house could have just got raided by the cops and things like that, and then you still have to go to school the next day.
Absolutely.
The teacher's not asking you what's going on at home. But you still have to get this work done though.
Yep.
So if we kind of focus on, changing the environment of which they're in, now that they can come in and be at peace and at rest, to learn these things, it kind of helps your mind, just retain that information differently.
Absolutely. And Ksenia, you being in the financial space, right? You jumped out of the financial space to go back into the financial space, the fintech space, because you saw a problem. Can you talk about, and elaborate to continue on what Dr. Benjamin and Rondé was saying on the problem that you saw, and then what you're creating with UNES, as far as, building a platform for everyone.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I would like to start with just like saying that I also kind of identify myself as a minority.
Absolutely.
Because, like I'm a female founder, as you know, like in fintech, which is like completely male dominated, space. And I definitely like a huge advocate of equality for all, right? Despite of our genders, ages, ethnicities, all of that. The problem that I saw, so I actually had a very successful career at a large financial institution. But what I saw working with our wealthy clients is that the quality financial advice is pretty much only available to those people who have, funds, right? And what's interesting about that is that they're probably the ones that can afford to save for the college, or, pay for the college regardless, right? For the kids. They're not the ones who need it the most. The big problem that I saw is that, first of all, 90% of people in the country don't even have access to financial advice. The top priority for parents is save for the kids. And I believe that, where problem actually starts, like, if you're talking about equality, is not giving kids the equal opportunity to get to college, right? Like, and that's basically like a big, like, determinant factor in how their lives will shape, right? So my dear, and on top of that, like, if you think about how kind of like college and healthcare are kind of related, right? Think about the student debt issue. We have this national disaster of 1.7 trillion in student loans. A lot of young kids are graduating with this burden, and especially kids from underserved community, because their parents cannot afford to pay for their college. And that creates like a ton of like mental issues, a lot of like psychological problems. And even for parents, like the problem that we're trying to solve, number one reason why parents are saving for the kids is because they want to have the peace of mind, right? That means that our solution helps to reduce that stress, helps to reduce anxiety. So it's kind of like it's very relevant, like on a lot of levels, creating the equal opportunities, reducing psychological issues, and just helping kids of all backgrounds to get equal opportunities in life.
That's super cool. And I think, starting with having tools, right? Financial literacy tools, and, one, not being afraid, right, to understand the finances. And, for these kids, back to you, Dr. Benjamin, talking about, the limitless, the limit to access and opportunity, right? And then also like the mental constraints. Can you talk about, like, where do you see we need to start moving in the right direction? If Kasinga is building, the financial platform to understand how to save for college, right? For equal opportunity. And Rondé is, in the community, and guys like him are building charter schools, right? Where do you see, the change happening, Dr. Benjamin? And then where would you like to see kind of like these worlds collide?
Well, I think the first thing we've got to do is make sure that we give all these young people a vision that they can be successful. I remember being in Washington, D.C., and being with some kids that were going to London for their first trip. They were doing a reciprocal visit after the Queen of England had come to the city, and they were doing the obligatory trip to London. And I was sitting in one of the council members' office talking about all the wonderful things those kids were going to see, Buckingham Palace, all the stuff that's happened in London. And he gave me this quizzical look, and he said, no, you don't understand. These are kids from Ward 8 in DC, which is one of the more impoverished wards at the time. And he said, these kids are excited about going to National Airport. So think about it, city 10 square miles, and they've never been to the airport, right? So they were gonna have fun when they got to London, but they had to get past the airport first.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is we gotta give these kids a future and show them the world is bigger than they're in. And then we can begin to give them aspirations to be, engineers and architects and, basketball players. And of course they want to be what they see, right? And they see athletics. And, by the way, I'm a failed athlete. That's why I went to medical school. I didn't have you folks' talent. You got to give them a broad, so they can make a choice. And if they have the athletic skills, absolutely.
Yeah. And with, I always say I got my MBA from the NBA, right? Learning through kind of growing as a young man, right? And Rondé, I'm sure you can attest to this, like your journey from the time you were drafted, right? To now, your next journey, or chapter 2, right? Your journey of purpose, can you speak to, what that meant for you, just as far as like being able to get out and see the world, right? Through sports, but then, also speak about like how you understand everything that happens. And it's not just about, just going on, what's going on the court.
Right. I would say definitely coming into the league, you know how it is being young. I think I got drafted at 19, 20.
Yep.
So coming into the league young, with all the opportunity in the world, I'm in New York at that. So just seeing everything just happen so fast, it was kind of like an eye opener for me. You know, I wound up getting hurt my rookie year, kind of setting me back and things like that. But right before the injury, I'm kind of thinking like everything is just smooth sailing. You know, I'm in the NBA. Life couldn't be any easier. And then reality hit where I had to, started taking care of my family, and I had to, pay attention more, watch more film, all these different things that kind of, it puts like I wouldn't say a burden, but like it's a lot to be 19, 20. And now you're the head, like the man of the whole family and things like that. It's definitely a lot. I would say as my years progressed and I started to put myself around good mentors, people that, been in the league, such as yourself, just getting the information that I could from those guys and, picking up little things, little habits, small ones, how they handle their family, how they hang around their friends and things like that. It started to shape me into the young man I am today. Whereas like I handle different things with ease, I would say. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's a different ease. And that's helped me, along with meditation I got into, growing up where we grew up, we look at meditation and laugh, so once I got into meditation, it opened my mind to a whole different world.
Yeah.
I'm able to sit here and say these things, and really mean it. So
No, I agree. And Ksenia, you know, you are, you have the luxury, right, of, being a startup and being able to see problems as they go and fixes. And, I think that, since we've been working together, right, you've also, really started to focus on, UNES, involved in this whole social, this social movement, right, of BLM. And, talk about, one, how important it is to really have these financial tools, but like the importance of kids waking up in the morning and saying, yo, I have money in my college savings, right? I have this opportunity. What does that mean for an entrepreneur like you, especially in this moment of time?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great kind of unique opportunity to just like listen to the outside world, understand the problems, like understand what's happening and be able to solve it, right? And very like, like when you and I started working together, what got me like so inspired about you is that you saw the platform that we building as an opportunity to serve not just your own kids, right? But, to help the community around you,
Absolutely.
right? And a lot of things that we discussed is basically now like introducing for example gifting, the ability for friends, family, and even like brands and influential people to gift into kids accounts. That opens up the world of opportunities, right? That opens up the opportunity to connect those people who want to gift, who want to make a difference, who want to make a change, and connect them to those kids that need it the most, right? Like, and maybe their parents are not they cannot save. But I believe it's just a very kind of powerful platform that we're building that can enable change, for the entire generation. And it's not just about college savings, right? Like we basically the premise of the company is to help, parents and communities to build better future for kids of all economic backgrounds. So that's what we're trying to solve. And I totally agree with kind of everything that's been said about the role models, right? Like, looking at someone like you and like, your friends, definitely those kids see great role models and they can imagine what future may look like. Their parents can imagine what future, like how different the future may be and how successful they can be, if they start preparing early.
And Dr. Benjamin, talk about, the access to these financial literacy programs and, the role of success and how that can play a huge part in really, ending social injustice.
Yeah, in many ways, it's all about the money. It's all about understanding how you make it, how you spend it, how you save it. Save is very, very important. And I remember my first lesson from my dad was when I got my first job. I was a paper route. I had a paper route,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, pay yourself first. Take that first dollar and put it in the jar somewhere.
Yeah.
And then he got me a savings account, and then I put it in the savings account. And I learned to manage money very early.
Yeah.
Balance a checkbook and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people don't. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people don't. Um, and it's a very important skill that you have to get. And just because we have a lot of people that become very successful, the number of people of color that have become very successful suddenly make a lot of money and end up broke.
Yeah. And why is that? Right.
They haven't learned the discipline. They haven't experienced. I mean, they've experienced poverty for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't recognize that if you don't work, you don't eat. And these big contracts, you're one. In your business, you're one injury away from
Right.
from losing everything. And that happens in every industry. If you're a doc, if you're a surgeon, and you hurt your hand, now you're still a doctor, you get to do something else, but you may not get to be a surgeon anymore.
Right.
So people have to think about their future and they have to plan. That's why education is so important. Education is the bedrock of that.
Absolutely.
At least in high school education, very
Yeah.
important.
And then, and in your role now, in the health department, right? Like how often is financial literacy being discussed, as it pertains to, the impoverished community? And then how often is mental wellness being discussed, right? Because, we're attacking education, financial literacy, we need money, but mental wellness plays a huge part of that as well. So, and how do they go hand in hand, right?
Well, we work hard to make sure that we advocate for people having a living wage. You've got to make enough money to be able to feed your family, keep the lights on, get from home to work. And so we push very hard for pay things like paid sick leave and for people to get paid more and for them to have health insurance coverage. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
one of the best ways to keep people from being impoverished is make sure they have adequate access to health insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Through their job, but not always. And if you think about it, when people have financial stability, they have less mental stress.
Yeah.
And we've got enough things that stress us every day, particularly folks that are working multiple jobs and trying to balance a family, and now with this COVID, trying to manage just being safe. So one of the challenges we often see is that people don't take me time. I encourage people to find every day, carve out a little bit of me time just for you, whether it's for meditation, whether it's just simply listen to soft music, or if you like loud music, just cut it on for a while, but just some time for you to get away and just not have the stresses. And it turns out it works. It helps you become more focused. It helps you become more functional every day, but you got to have some me time so that that is something that you deserve, that you work for that day. And I encourage everyone to do that.
Absolutely. Rondé, you do meditate, and you were touching up on this earlier. And, I wanted to pose a question to you. What are some of the steps that we can take, now, right, in the community with these young youth to, start to change the stigma around being ashamed of seeking mental health, right? What would be, your kind of call out to people?
I would say for me personally, I kind of reach out to the communities. I'm very active in my community. I was just on a radio broadcast live stream earlier today with people from my community who are respected. And I feel like that's kind of like where it should start at, like you showing interest and you wanting to change your community or your environment. And then I feel like if you're supported by your community, the energy around it will follow. Like I've talked to the leaders in these neighborhoods, and they tell me all the time, like, hey, we want change, but people don't care about us. And that hit home for me because I was once in their shoes, so I understand how it feels to not be cared about. And that's something where we start the conversation, whether I'm on FaceTime with them or texting, or whatever the case may be, even if someone writes me on Instagram, just to have that conversation about mental health and understanding, these thoughts that are going on in your head, they're not normal. And that's a big problem with our community. We normalize what's been going on for so long. Now that it just becomes a constant like evolution for all of our people because we normalized it. Yep. So now we got to learn how to go in there and break the root of it, like hit it home. And it starts with, talking to somebody, expressing yourself and learning how to do that. We never learned how to do that. When you was a kid, I'm sure Doc, when you was a kid, you fell, you got cut, you got somebody in your house, like, you better not cry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, stop crying, when we should be able to express ourselves and be able to talk about, these feelings that we have. So yeah, man, that's me just being more active and talking to more people in those communities, in those areas.
Absolutely. Because seeing it and then talk, we've been hearing financial literacy and mental wellness, that goes hand in hand. What are some of the things that, you and the UNES team have been thinking about, especially with, the gifting program that you launched, as far as, what are you doing to kind of bridge the gap between financial literacy and mental wellness, or, champion that cause?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I believe because saving for kids and protecting kids is such a high priority for parents, especially right now, right? Like in times of uncertainty, like in times when we're like all sitting at home, like on this like lockdown, we're just trying to kind of minimize that stress for parents and provide more confidence in the future, right? And provide more confidence that they can prepare for the kids' future with the help of community, with help of other people, right? They don't have to be stressed out about their own like job or their own income. We can actually help them to involve like friends, family, and even like other companies to help saving for kids. So yeah, and as I would say, like the second thing that I kind of mentioned, just like in terms of like bigger mission of the company, right? Like what we're trying to accomplish in 10 years, hopefully to reduce the overall burden of student loans and student debt on the entire generation, because I believe that that's a huge contributing factor in the mental health and psychological problems that some young people experience when they graduate with this amazing degrees, but they just suffer from the student loans and delay a lot of life decisions because of that.
Yeah, I mean, just to recap where we are, it's we need the finances, right? We need the financial literacy, but we also need the care, right? And we need to kind of unveil, right, the stigma of we don't need help, right? Like, you cannot cry, right? You need to be tough. So as we let's say tear apart this scar tissue, right? And we know that, it's tough for a kid to get, an equal opportunity for education. Then if that kid continues to go, it's hard for that kid to get the right loan, right? Or even have the right structure loan, or even have any college savings.
Yeah.
And then you make it to college, you get out of college, and now you're paying off debt, right? And so, there is no pathway, right? The way the system is set up, there is no pathway to success, right? And, starting with, the racial gaps and the achievements from kids, ever since, kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Benjamin, and test scores being lower, right? Access being lower. How do we educate and empower our communities from the inside out, right? As far as our theme, this each one teach one mentality.
Yeah, I can tell you. I think that the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we have confidence in one another, that we can do it, and we need to give that confidence to our kids, to our neighbors, and not dissuade them. You know how many times I've heard counselors, by the way, they're not always white. Sometimes they're Black, that have told colleagues that I had who went to medical school or went to law school or did athletics that no, you can't do that. You're not going to be successful at that. So they get dissuaded at a very young age. And that's the wrong thing. My parents always told me I can be anything I want to be. Now, my mom had a couple things she did not think I should do. She did not want me to be a boxer. She's seen a lot of boxers with head injury, and she just thought that she wanted to discourage me to do that. But she said, look, if you do it, you do it. But you can be anything you want to be, And I think that the more we do that in our community, the better we're going to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Rondé, speaking on that, when we can do that and when we can give, the reason why you're building this school, right, is to give that access, right? Speak to, the challenges of resources now, right? And, what you aim to accomplish, in your journey of launching, your first of let's all hope for thousands and thousands of school as we support you. You're on mute.
My bad. Pretty much just going through the obstacles, the little ones that people may not know about with charter schools. That's like getting approval from the district. They may feel like we're taking money from the public education and things like that. Then you have some people in the community that don't know the understanding of what we would bring to the table. So they're giving their community feedback, and you have little things like that. And then it comes down to not having enough resources or money, so to say, to give to the district because they're underfunded because of so many charter schools. So, I mean, just kind of once you understand that in the business side of it, I feel like when you come with a different approach and who you speak to, it kind of gives you a different feel of everything that you'll go through in the future, and so on and so forth. So once you get on the same page with the people that you're working with, I feel like the rest is history. You just got to have that understanding in the business of what they want done and what you want done, and then we figure out how to correlate both of our messages together.
I like that, and the core philosophy is to demonstrate that all students have the capacity for extraordinary success, right?
Absolutely.
What is that? Talk about, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because the word extraordinary success, why did you choose those words? Because those are amazing words, to, have as a philosophy for a school.
Pretty much, I just being from where I'm from and seeing all the kids there and how they're unique, man. They're unique, and they mean so much to me. Where I go and spend some time in classrooms, or I hang out with them extra at my camps just to see and get that energy and that feel from them. So I chose extraordinary because knowing these kids and the way that their mind works is nonetheless but extraordinary, and I feel like we need more resources and more people behind us to push this message forward. And then once the people feel like someone believes in them, because even sometimes your own family don't believe in you.
Right.
So once we get more people to show that they believe in them, the rest is history. I'm sure all of us on the panel, even yourself, you saw that one kid that you gave hope to. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of that's what drives me to give back. Seeing that hopeless kid finally get hope it's amazing.
And that's dope, dude. That's super dope. Cause Senya, holistically, right? What does UNES need, right? From the community, right? Our panelists, everybody in the community to be a factor in, leveling the playing field when it comes to education and financial literacy in totality.
Yeah, no, I think as a company, like all we need is just the continuous support, right? And some like, feedback on what we can do better and how can we understand the problems better. Because like in my mind, you better know like my philosophy, my mentality, I think that BLM is like super powerful movement, but we go through the cycles over and over, like every 5-10 years, right? It's systemic issue, it's not going away. In my mind, the way to solve the issue is focus on what's today, like what do we need to do today in order to kind of prevent this problem or solve the problem like 20 years from now. And in my mind, like the movement should be Black kids' future matters, right? Like this is what we need to solve right now. We need to focus on children. We need to give them opportunities. And when they grow up, like hopefully like 10, 15, 20 years from now, we will not run into this, kind of racial gaps or like, this inequality again.
I love that. And I love, the initiatives that, UNES is starting to take on and champion as far as, setting up partnerships with different organizations, right? Setting up gifting accounts, right? And, the opportunity to partner with various different, athletes and leaders in the space. It's for me, it's more about access, right?
Yeah.
And if we can start, Dr. Benjamin, I want you to elaborate on this. If we can start to focus these dollars, right? If we can start to focus these dollars, in your opinion, what is the best way, right, to kind of feed the beast or kill the beast when it comes to, the the funding of, government, private, everybody kind of participating, in this cause?
Well, partnerships matter, to the extent you can get the private sector to partner in government and make things that are an investment. Far too often, folks like to sprinkle a little money for good public relations into the hood. And then they get a great, press story out of that. And then you don't see them again. They're not there for the long haul. Or they put some money in and then things don't go the way they wanted to because things don't always go smoothly. And then they pull back.
Yeah.
And, quite frankly, if any of us had done that, none of us would be where we are today if we had just quit. Yeah. So I think we have to remember to invest in our communities. And the other thing is, remember, these communities have strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Jones down the street, Uncle John down the street, they got strengths. They know the community, they know the community well. And if you want to find out what you need to do in the community to build it up, go talk to them. Don't walk into with these great ideas. I think we need to listen to those communities more and find out what they need and then invest with them for the long term.
Agreed. Super duper agreed. As we're starting to get a little run on time, we're talking about mental health. We're talking about financial literacy. We're talking about each one teach one, right? We're talking about unlocking and, restitching the fabric to equal access for healthcare, education, and wellness. And, I want to thank, all of our panelists for, really being able to contribute and build insight and bring insight. And, I say as we close, I'd like to, always kind of drill into a solution, a solution of some sort. And, Dr. Benjamin, I would ask you, what are our next steps, right? Leading into this election, after the election, how do we best support you and where should our focus be?
Yeah, I think three things. First thing is vote,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't, vote. That you got to do that. All right. Don't say if I don't vote. If you don't vote, you voted. So
Mm-hmm.
vote. I think the second thing after that, after the election, is that we all have to band together and recognize that our society needs to move forward and that we need to have a new social compact for health. That means we need to think about us collectively instead of individually, right? The best way for us to support ourselves individually is for all to realize that we all in this together. And I think the third thing is, quite frankly, it goes back to that golden rule: just treat others as you would want them to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I learned that in kindergarten, and I got to tell you, it has served me well.
Absolutely. Rondé, I'll ask you the same question, and just some words of encouragement to the people out there watching. What are some positive solutions that you're looking at solving? One with your school, and also in your daily walk in life as an NBA superstar.
Oh man, I would say first with the school is for me is more so to help the kids and help the parents, see that there's more to life, see that there's different and better grass on the other side. You just got to follow the path and believe in something. And then daily walk of life for me, I feel like is a bit stronger
Mm-hmm.
um, because I'm actually working on an economic development project for my city.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just had a conversation with the governor's people. So pretty much thinking in terms of like how can we own what we claim to be ours? Like Doc was saying, teaching the kids sweat equity, showing them how to create jobs, showing them how to do things with their hands, and not be afraid to ask for help is something that I'm working on overtime. To make sure that these kids have and adults have the opportunity that we all want. It's equal. We want equality. We want change. We want betterment for our world, for our families. So I feel like me being able to pull more people in, like I'll call Kyle Lowry, I'll call
Yeah.
Morris twins,
Mm-hmm.
people in Pennsylvania. We come together because this is where it starts. We show unity as a forefront. Like this panel right now, this is unity right here. Us
Yeah.
talking, being amongst each other, sharing our mindset and our ideas, is showing the world unity. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we need to think about it when no one's watching. We need to think about that. How people just being around people and showing to other people that we can love each other, we can be there for each other. Man, it goes a long way. So
Yeah, I
just
appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Because Senya, you've been, a huge advocate, and a minority yourself as a women entrepreneur, and you've been a huge advocate for, women of color as entrepreneurs. Can you talk about just, what you're looking at, and what are some positive things and words of encouragement that you can give, to all of our people out there as far as being an entrepreneur, but then also what are some ways that they can take direct steps, in supporting UNES and vice versa.
Yeah, I would say like being an entrepreneur, it's like it's about a lot of sacrifices, right? And it's about like kind of taking stance for something and believing in something and trying to make a difference in the world. I definitely would like to see more like female entrepreneurs and more people of color to be entrepreneurs and help in the change. And I would say in terms of solution itself, it always takes a village, right, to initiate a real change. One person is not enough, and 10 people is not enough. I would like to believe that our technology gives that solution, at least partially, to initiate the change or be a part of the change. But definitely, we cannot do it on our own. We need more kind of help and support, and even like investment from, other companies and investors and like people like yourself, right, to be a part of the movement, to be a part of the change. So I would just say that it's also like about distribution of wealth, like in a sense, right? Because only having the resources you can make a difference. You cannot execute if you do not have like enough resources. So I would just say like we definitely need to be in this together, help each other. And we created a tool. We're leading with this kind of tool, but the tool is nothing without people. So
Absolutely.
we definitely need like more brands, companies,
Partnerships.
people, partnerships,
Yeah.
on this journey. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. As we close, Ksenia, you're most comfortable with this because you've been on one of our panels. We always like to ask, what is your business inside the game? Meaning, what do you bring, right, to every single thing that you do? Like, what translates when we look at Ksenia, when we look at Dr. Benjamin, whether it's a job, whether it's a lifestyle move, whether it's a career move, what do you rely on in yourself that you bring? What is your business inside the game, Ksenia?
what do I rely like inside of me, like to kind of keep
Yeah.
going? Like, what's my inner drive? Um, I don't know. It's like probably like believing in some higher mission, right? Like in this like movement, like that's what keeps me going. And I also would say that like, because we are here for children, like and for equality for kids, like, I also have kids and they give me a ton of motivation to keep going. So I would say yes, like just the mission and that motivation that you have from your own kids.
Got it. Dr. Benjamin, you, as a former athlete, right? We don't say we failed athletes. I know. What is your business inside the game that you use to hang your hat on as you, kind of transition from, role to role and moved your way up the ladder as well?
I try to do what I promise I'm going to do, and I try to walk the talk.
Amen. Amen. Rondé. I mean, we know you again. All right. Right. You gotta respect that. Rondé, we know your game, right? And if we watch you play, we know what type of player you are. But, what is the thing that you use that you can step off the court, right, and use that same thing to define you? Right. What is your business inside the game?
Pretty much you said it earlier. It's called CHAT. Stands for calm, humble, and patient, man. Just calm through any storm that you may face in life, humble through all the praise and glory that you may get, and patient, when things seem like it's going south or you may not be moving at the speed you want to move, just stick with it and keep fighting, keep pushing through.
Love it. Love it. I can't thank you all enough. This has been, an amazing conversation for me. I love moderating these things because I love to be able to, you know, listen and learn and soak up the information. And, as we talk about, paying it forward, when we talk about, each one teach one, right? When we talk about, equal access to healthcare, education, and wellness, I think we've had a great discussion, right? And our goal here with Big is to always move the ball forward, right? And to always make progress. So one, I just appreciate your time. I think Rondé, congratulations on the school. I feel like there are going to be some UNEST accounts open when the parents sign their kids up. So, we want to be able to, supply these families and kids as they sign up for the school with their accounts. So then they know that they can take ownership in themselves. And Dr. Benjamin, I think that there's, partnerships for us to be able to do this on a massive scale as we all come together. So financial literacy is first, right? And then the acceptance of who we are and the help that we need in financing that, right? And then also lighting these pathways and understanding, having a sense of ownership of who you are. So, as I recap, once again, I would love to say thank you. Thank you, Ksenia. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin. Thank you, Rondé. And thank you all out there for tuning in to Each One Teach One, equal access to healthcare, education, and mental wellness. And on our next panel, which will be next week, we will be talking about put your money where your mouth is. This is incredible, right? So this is definitely the tee up for put your money where your mouth is. So, we want to have some panelists next week that we're going to put some pressure on them, to fund these accounts and to, provide for, the kids and the inner city communities that we want to serve. So on behalf of Business Inside the Game, I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank the MBPA for doing this. This has been a tremendous series of panels, and everyone check in, follow Ksenia. How do we contact? What is the contact information on UNES? Can you leave it for everyone watching?
Yeah, sure. You can just go to our website or find us on the App Store. Our website is umest.co, unes.co.
Got it. Dr. Benjamin, how do we find you? How do we keep up?
The American Public Health Association website is apha.org. That's apha.org.
All right. If you see, hey, this BD, just know that's me. All right.
All right.
Rondé, how do we keep up with you?
Keep up with me. I pretty much post all my stuff on my social media. So you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. You just type in my name, Rondé Hollis Jefferson.
Awesome. Thank you all. Enjoy your weekend. We appreciate you with Business Inside the Game.
Thanks, Baron.
Thank you, Baron.